Hi, Tribe Builders. This week is another solo episode. I wanted to talk about an event that I just went to, and it was so amazing. I'm going to give credit where it needs to be, which is the team that put the event on, the coaching team. My coach's name is Nicole Cherie Hess, and she's got a podcast of her own. I've been following her on social media for a few years now, and I joined her coaching program a few months ago, and it has been a very interesting journey of awesome, honestly. It's things that I don't always want to do. Mainly, I don't want to talk about feelings and really reflect on those kinds of things. But I just spent a week or like 4 days in New Orleans with the team, and the person that was there was like the coach, like Nicole, the whole entire business that she built, and then her team were the people kind of putting on it and they're putting it on. And then one of her coaches was there. I don't know. I think that she's called a coach. I guess I don't even know. I don't know what their structure was, but so this this program is really, really cool. And the stuff that they put on, like, so I paid extra to go to a retreat or an event at a house with, only 6 other business owners, which is awesome. It's always great to get one-on-one time. But one of the themes of the week was intentionality. And that might not be their theme, but it was the theme that I got the most out of. So we went to a couple of different events while we were there. Like, we were obviously in an event the whole entire time. Like, I'd consider a retreat an event, but we went to parties. Long story. I don't really want to get into it, honestly. So we went to these parties, though, that were put on by other brands. And we would go to these parties, we'd spend a couple of hours, maybe a half hour at one, a couple hours at another. And it was our jobs just to kind of to experience whatever it was to experience. And then we would go back to the house and we'd actually talk about the events. And some of these events, like I said, they were put on by these brands, and they were really, really good, strong lessons in intentionality. And what I mean by that is how much they would spend, how much they would care about the whole entire journey for whoever it was coming in. I'm going to call it clients because everybody's a potential client when you're a brand, I suppose. So some of the things they did was like how they would walk you through the event. Like, when you showed up, did you know where to go? Was it hot? Was it cold? Was there decorations? Did you know whose party it was? Did you know anything about the brand afterwards? How did the brand essentially make you feel from the event? And it was one of the most wildest experiences because we got to go to so many, and then we got to compare them. And one of the first event that I went to, because I was late for the event or for the whole entire retreat, I got to go to this. It was like a pool party, and it wasn't very intentional. Like, it looks like they didn't spend as much money. It kind of looked like an afterthought that their event team was just kind of like, oh, we ran out of money, or we just don't care. And you could feel that. Like, after we talked about it, she brought us back to the house and she's like, what did you guys think? And everybody in the room just talked negative. She didn't even ask us, what's the negatives about this? We only talked negative about it. And then there were additional parties that same day, and some of them blew my socks off. It was so incredible to see what effort they went into, the vibe of when you showed up, what people were wearing, the people that worked there, the imaginative things that were just thought up of, I guess. And it was that part was really cool. And then the following days we went to more, and the ones that stand out the most were the ones how they made you feel. Like, there was one event that even had 7 different experiences within it, and you would walk through these different experiences, and they were so intentional with the vibe, the lighting, what you saw on the walls, the way the staff worked, how their staff spoke, as in like what level they spoke at, if they spoke loudly, if they spoke quietly. And then going through other rooms was, how you experienced something when you drank this thing versus when you saw this thing. And then you just kind of kept going through different rooms with all kinds of different experiences and imaginative ones and really cool decorations. It was just so cool. And the ones that I remember the most are the ones that made me feel like I was having the most fun and that it was the most intentional. And I find it to be one of the most interesting retreats I've ever gone to, because we were literally shown how much intentionality matters with everything we do. And post retreat, so I was in New Orleans for this retreat. And then over the weekend, I went to New York to meet up with some friends. And we went shopping at one point, just in a little town near the house. And I started noticing, going into all kinds of these little shops. We were just like in this little harbor town, and going into these little shops, how they made me feel when I came in. And it could have been the temperature, it could have been the lighting, it could have been the music, could have been whoever it was behind the counter. I noticed how intensely different stores can be, and how intention to check in with somebody versus no intention and sitting behind the register on your phone, not even welcoming people, and not paying attention, and how much I wanted to spend money at those places. Like, the differences in spending money with somebody who has all kinds of intention and wants to see, you know, what they could help me with or what kind of experience I want to have, versus the people that it's just an afterthought or they don't care. This was one of the coolest experiences I've had. And really, it was just about realizing how important the things we do are and the intentionality behind things. Today, I did a pretty big revamp of all my questions for the podcast. Obviously, you're not hearing them today because you're just getting me today. But next week's episode, I've already recorded it and it's fire. It's so good. And my intention with it, and her intention being on my podcast, it feels to me anyways like it was really meant to be. And when I started making or redoing the questions today and trying to fold some of this stuff in, it just felt like I actually thought about the kinds of people I want listening, the kinds of people that would get something out of this, and what I want people to get out of listening to a episode of Tribe Builders. In the past, all I've wanted to do, I just want to ask people questions. I absolutely love talking to business owners. I think it's one of the coolest things that I get to do, is be a podcast host. And I think folding in my intentionality of why I would want somebody to listen to stuff like this and why I think people should get some time on the microphone is going to just help the podcast in general. I would like it to do a lot better with downloads and with reviews and things like that. So I'm putting a little bit more intentionality into why I think people should listen and what I'm hoping for them to get out of it. And, some of that surrounds like getting good advice from other people and meeting people in seemingly random ways, but them being an actual connection. And what kinds of people you have on a peer board of advisors. And it was really, really fun today to check out this intentionality and see who would be a great fit for this podcast, because I don't necessarily think that it has to be a real estate person, because I think there's lessons to be heard from every single sector, honestly, in the whole scheme of businesses. So that was something that I wanted to at least talk about a little bit, was in the intentionality that I learned about over the weekend, and how I am going to start applying it in my businesses, and how that path could look for people around me, for people that work with me, the people that work for me, people that stay with us, the people that hire me to do things, like all of that good stuff. So there are 3 points, though, from last week that I did want to talk about. So intentionality was the first one. The second one was high frequency or leveled up conversations. So I wrote myself this little note about this. And the coach last week, my coach Nicole, really she really hit home with talking about small talk, talking about being in a room and not wasting your time in that room. So one of the big things was, we paid a lot of money to get to be in a room with her last week, and only 6 business owners. Like, that's huge. Like, I think she gets $10,000 for a date with her, which is awesome. I mean, I know there's people that would charge way more, and I know people that would charge a heck of a lot less. But she hit home a lot about how, why aren't you guys talking about your businesses more, and why aren't you talking about, asking me tons of questions? Like, you have access to me for a few days. All you should do is ask me questions. And granted, she learns differently than some people, but one of the things she also hit home was, we're in a container of people that are doing really big, awesome things, and those kinds of people don't have low frequency conversations, and they have conversations that are leveled up. They're talking about the cool things that they're doing and that they could do, and that how you could change the world. I mean, truly, like the 6 people, I guess the 5 people, sorry, I'm one of them. So the 5 people that were there, like, they all have the capacity to change the world. They all have the capacity to do things that are so big that could change the trajectory of life in different ways. There was a health coach, a project management coach, like actually, she was a leadership coach. Holy crap, she's amazing. A human design gentleman that I can't, I mean, I know kind of what he does, but the kind of stuff that he talks about is a realm that I can't even wrap my head around at this point yet. And just somebody else talking about health, that and the trauma that comes with our health and some of our journeys, like how we get to a better state of health. And like, it's just really, really cool to get to be around people like that. And then she scolded us for having, muggle conversations. And I say muggle conversations because we get to be entrepreneurs, we get to be business owners, we get to do these things. And when we're put in rooms with other entrepreneurs and business owners, we might just talk about the weather, or we might ask about their families. And while I still think some of those questions are necessary, I like to get to know people so I can hear what kind of human they are, and not how I should act around them, but how I can support them and how I can encourage them. So those conversations will never end. I don't care what anybody tells me. It'd be pretty hard for me to stop. And I don't want to, but she made a really good point. On our last day, she had talked about, hey, we're going to be going into dinner, and this is the last chance that you get to be around all these people, and you get to be around me for the week. You paid a lot of money to do this. Let's not digress into low frequency conversations. And I think that means a different thing to everybody, honestly. You're listening to me right now babble about this, and you're just like, I don't know what the hell that is. Or you might think high frequency means something different. But to me, it means talking about big ideas, talking about business ownership in a way that's not just complaining you can't get clients. It's about, like, how can I do this so that this person feels this way and I can support this person in this way? And how can I, create this thing that people flock to, that just feels so excited to get to spend time with a person, or be in a room with, 6 other business owners that are doing really cool things. And I've had both conversations since her statement of, you need to stay high frequency, you need to have 10x conversations so that you can become 10x. And, we all have to become the person that we want to be. And by being that, you literally wake up and become that person. You stop having small talk conversations that are nonsense, or you limit that kind of behavior. I don't think it means that you can never do something like that again. That would be silly to say, but I've noticed when I've had lower frequency conversations, when I've had to listen to somebody complain about, their spouse, or complain about their job, and it's only been a few days since I've had these conversations, like the high frequency going into low frequency. And man, it's so much more fun to be in that high frequency, to be around people that you just can have those conversations with. And I just recorded a podcast with somebody And we had a discussion about why it matters so much to surround yourself with certain people. And one of the things that really hit home was she's just like, I felt weird having these conversations with, moms at drop off. But then I got into this group and realized I'm not weird. I could talk about all the silliest things or the craziest ideas I have for my business. And all of these people matched that. They were excited for me too, or they wanted to also have that. And I think that's, the spirit of tribe builders in my head is I just want people to feel seen and heard by each other, by me, by their family, whatever. And we can't control feeling seen and heard by everybody, but we can control our environment that we put ourselves in. We can control going out of our way to find the people that don't feel weird. I had a conversation with somebody in Denver when I was at an event early this spring. And she was just so flabbergasted with the fact that she was in a place where everybody was okay with talking about real estate and hearing her talk about real estate for like 8 hours. And I was just like, yeah, this is like the whole entire point. Because it's okay to talk about real estate or talk about fill in the blank of the thing that you freaking love. If you like smut fairy books, cool. If you like murder mystery books or maybe murder mystery podcasts, cool. Go find those people, because when you can talk on the same level with those people, the conversations are just amazing. They're so much more fun when you don't feel self-conscious that you're talking too much, because you're so busy being aligned and being excited about what you're talking about that you don't worry that this person might think I'm talking too much or this person might think I'm weird. It's okay to feel weird. And it's even better to go find the people that you don't feel weird around, because you guys are all weirdos together. Like, I use this weird analogy that, those little pinwheels, like when there's a parade, somebody will put a pinwheel, maybe in the yard or in the parade, and they swirl around and with the wind, or you can blow on them and they swirl. This is a really weird analogy. I'm gonna have to tighten it up. I'm sorry, but I feel like everybody's kind of got their own pinwheel, and they're all kinds of colors and patterns. And I think when you can go find more people in your pattern, so if you have a group of 10 of them, and right now your pattern is the only one in there. There's all kinds of blues and greens and reds, purples, but you're just over there, with a white one. The more white pinwheels you have, like, the more fun that you're going to have, because I know that you guys, we're all the same then, because we all have our little white pinwheels, but man, the excitement that you can have when all you can do is talk about real estate because that's the thing you love. Or maybe you love quilting and you get to be around quilt people and you get to talk about fabric and you get to talk about quilt machines and long arms and zippers and, all the things, like all the fabric in the world. Like, you get to light up, and it is so freaking enjoyable to see people light up when they're super happy about whatever it is they're doing. And this just reminded me of something that I did while I was there. So we set intentions on Thursday. Thursday was the last full day we had together. We set our intentions that morning after we had some discussions. And my whole intention was heard. Like, my word was heard. Like, I want people to feel heard today. So when I went out and about, was my goal. So I would ask people questions, find out what they were doing. I would point out to them when I felt like something was awesome. So there was this one time. So one of the events that we went to, it was at a bar, and there was a drag show. And, people were very jovial. People were very drunk. People were very happy and excited. One of the things I noticed was the photographer. There was this girl following around all of them, getting a ton of pictures for whatever they're going to do with them. I think she probably worked for the brand. And everyone's watching the drag queen that is dancing their ass off, doing a great job, dressed to the nines in whatever outfit that matches the song. And I'm looking at the photographer who has these super deep dimples and she pretty much just had a perma smile. Like, her dimples were so out and her smile was so big And that's all I noticed was a girl loving her job. Like, she loved her job. She loved what she was doing. She looked so happy. Her body said it. Her aura said it. Her attitude said it, everything. And eventually, like, she happened to be standing by me and wasn't taking a picture. And I had told her, I'm just like, hey, I have to compliment you. Like, you look like you are doing what you love. And she's like, oh my God, this is so fun. And I'm like, you just start just smiling and radiating. And she's like, well, how can you not? And I'm like, yeah, you can still, you can be happy, but your body language says you're doing what you love. And it very clearly shows. And I bet you're really good at what you do because you bring so much happiness to it. And she was excited and, you know, thanked me for the compliment. And I don't even think about these compliments anymore. I just think of, like, how can I make somebody feel like they're heard? And in a way, I was trying to make her feel heard in the fact that she was really good at what she does, and that, she communicates through photos and she does a great job. And while that might be a weird way to do it, um, I don't think, it offends very many people when you can tell them, like, hey, you just look so comfortable with what you're doing, and that's really awesome for you and good for you for finding something that you love. And if I can do that, and that helps me stay in a higher frequency, I think that's literally the place I want to live every single day. I want to tell somebody how happy they make me because they bring so much joy to whatever it is that they're doing because they love it. So if you have a topic that you want to talk to people about, whether it's books or a job or your kid or soccer, football, whatever it is, go find friends that do that thing or that want to talk about that thing. There are so many weirdos out there. It's fucking awesome. Like, I'm saying weirdos and I'm not saying it in a bad term. I'm saying it in, go find your people. Like, you would be surprised at how much you could flourish in life when you get to hang out with people that you really love and that get to, spread the joy with you or share the joy of whatever topic it is that you love. Okay, and the third thing that I wanted to touch on was a concept that my coach was teaching. I want to give 100%, 150, 200% credit to this woman. She is so, so good at her job. Like, she's one of the best coaches I've ever seen in my entire life. The way that she can break down, a concept, she can break it down in like 10 different ways and to teach it to people. Because what hits for somebody doesn't necessarily hit for somebody else. And she is so incredible at this thing. So I'm excited to be bringing this into the podcast, actually. And it's called Challenge into an Opportunity. Like, how can we recognize that we made a very nasty challenge or something that just wasn't going well into an opportunity? She asked us to, talk to people at the table on the last night about that, like how we have made an opportunity out of a challenge that didn't feel like it was ever going to be an opportunity. Because when you start looking at your life like that, when you start thinking, yeah, I lost $5,000 over here, and gosh, it sucked because I was expecting to have a profit of 20,000 and whatever. But when you know that there is an opportunity in that, and then you were able to pretty much, make lemonade with lemons kind of situation, your whole entire life can just expand and change into ways you just don't even understand quite yet if you don't do this. Because you very clearly can see how abundant our world is. Like, our universe is so abundant, it's crazy. Like, there's like a never ending or an unending well of awesome, as long as you can learn and train your brain into showing that's what it is. Like, when something crappy happens, eventually you can show that it was a learning opportunity in disguise. We can learn something from everybody. And I think this was something she talked about a lot, and talked about how we're all just looking for ways to level up, at least in this business. Whatever, some people's business, you're not looking for that. You just want to stay where you are. That's completely fine. That's totally your MO. That's fine. I don't think that's wrong. But I think if you do want to get somewhere, she talked a lot about how what got you to where you are today will not get you to where you want to go tomorrow. And tomorrow being, a week later, months later, years later, whatever it may be. However you were successful that time won't necessarily get you to where you are, because everybody's got to keep leveling up. So she started talking about how we need to identify our challenges into opportunities, and how there's a key in every single one of them. There's some kind of lesson. And that can be about health, that can be about fitness, that can be, I mean, seriously, about anything, like hiring. There's lots of things in business, obviously. Hey, I just lost money. Like, there's an opportunity here to figure out how that worked out. But I think the more we identify things like this and know that just because it worked before doesn't mean it'll ever work again in that same way. I know I've been super fit in my life, and I really, really want to just go back to that moment. But it was 10 or 15 years ago that I was a heck of a lot more fit. Actually, it was like 10, not 15. It's 15 years ago. But I don't think if I ever went back to that, I would be the same version of fit, because we added 10 years. We added a completely different mindset now than what I was, in my early 30s and late 20s. So I know this is getting a little rambly, but I'm just kind of pointing out that the more challenges that we can recognize and create opportunities from and show that, I think we all just need to be sharing that more. So that's going to be a main piece of the podcast going forward, is people talking about how they made their challenges into opportunities and what they learned from it, and, what kind of mindset shift they needed to make that happen. So I'm going to be done for the day. This, I hope, if you have questions, like, reach out, because it was a really, really awesome retreat. I'd be happy to tell anybody about, or give, Instagram handle or her podcast, anything like that. If somebody wants to learn about my coach, she's really incredible at what she does, and I respect her, and I'm a little bit scared of her. So that was one of the reasons I hired her, because she intimidates me enough to know that she's going to help me level up in ways I've never leveled up before. I'm doing a lot of reflecting on what happened last week and continue to do so, and I'm excited for the changes that are going to be made. I hope you stick around to see them. This podcast is going to get fucking better, which is really neat. I love that for me. I love that for you. I love that for anybody that wants to be out there. Before I sign off, could you also, if you've got any suggestions on people that, are really good networkers, tribe builders, in ways that, like, people that are just the sunshine in the middle of a group, and the reason that group keeps going is because of them, please introduce me to them. Send me their name, anything. I would really like more people on the podcast that can talk about stuff like that, because I think the people that surround themselves with the people that they like, they just have a different sparkle, and it's because they get to be around people that are awesome and that are like-minded and all the good stuff. So I hope you have a fantastic week. Thanks for listening, and talk to you next week, Tribe Builders. Bye.